This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, and today we're going back to a topic that is one of my personal favorites, and that's the sim racer's bucket list. As many of you know, a while back I got a chance to attend Allen Berg Racing Schools and a chance to drive in a Formula 1600 Renault at Arizona Motorsports Park. I got a chance to drive that car under dry conditions. I also got to drive it while it was starting to get a little damp, and then even when it got completely wet, and that was a total blast. But the bad weather kept coming, and it meant that our day got cut short. I try to expedite the day in advance of the weather.
Fantastic.
Which, right now, you would never accuse of being anything but spectacular.
I know.
On that day, Allen Berg felt terrible. I had lost my final and most important driving session, and he had hoped that we'd be able to make it up someday if we could make those arrangements. Luckily for me, those arrangements came fairly quickly, and I was going to get another chance at it, this time at my home track, California Speedway, also known as Autoclub Speedway. I'm back for round 2 at Allen Berg Driving School. As anybody who watched the previous version knows, it was completely lightning, thunder, rain, flood, everything coming down, and that brought that session to an end. Allen promised me another opportunity, and I'm here on a very sunshiny day, and I think it's going to stay that way this time. And I'm going to get round 2 in these cars in the dry to see what I can do. I'm not going to get quite as much time as I did last time, so I probably won't get to full speed, but I definitely am going to get to see what this car can do on a dry track in Fontana, California Speedway, Autoclub Speedway. And I am really looking forward to what I get to do today in the car, and I'm very grateful to Allen Berg for having me out once again. Now, the best way for me to get in the car again, which isn't that easy since it's going to be a new track, a completely different day, a new memory in my brain. How do you get someone in the car for a session, just one session? And the easiest way to do that was to put me through another one of his courses that would get me that final session. In this case, it was called the Fast Track Program, which retails for about $695 for about 3 hours of classroom and driving time. The Fast Track Program can be broken down into 4 different sections. You've got the classroom portion, followed by the lead follow, followed by open lapping all on your own, and then finally some data analysis of how you did on track. Now, things start off by getting all suited up. You pick your helmet, you pick your suit, your gloves, your shoes, everything you're gonna need once you get in the car. And then you're carted off to the classroom session. During this session, you are taught to know what you need to know about the vehicle itself, how to turn it on, how to start it, how to shift the gears, and how to stop the car and turn it off. There are some basic instructions on race car driving, like the driving line, apexing, heel-toe shifting, and then there is a bit of time dedicated to talking about the infield road course of California Speedway. Then it's time to head out to the track and get into the cockpit of one of these beautiful cars. Now, the cars used by Allen Berg Racing School are the Tatuus Formula Renault 1600. The entire chassis is made of a monocoque carbon fiber tub and has adjustable front and rear wings. The car has monoshock pushrod suspension that you would find on the finest of open-wheeled race cars. It's powered by a 4-cylinder, 16-valve, fuel-injected engine that produces about 140 horsepower. The power is delivered to the ground via a 5-speed sequential gearbox that has both a neutral and reverse lockout. The car comes equipped with 13-inch racing slicks all the way around and has onboard data recorders for reviewing later. The overall size of the car is about 3/4 the size of a real Indy car and weighs in at only about 1,000 pounds. And then it was time to do some driving. Now, it starts with picking the right padding selection to fit your body into these cars that are going to accommodate anybody. You're going to have an ABRS instructor helping you pick the padding, getting you buckled and strapped down very tightly. They strap you down a lot tighter than you're going to be able to do it yourself, and I'm going to tell you from personal experience, you need that. These cars pull some major G's and they will throw you into the wall left and right every corner if you're not strapped as tight as possible. Then we are given some final instructions on this lead follow session that we are about to embark on, and then finally given the command to start our engines.
Okay, let's clutch in, fire up, and eyes up on me.
The road course layout that we are using at California resembles the interior course that you would find on iRacing. It is a touch over a mile long and has 17 turns, with 10 of them being to the right and 7 to the left. There are at least 5 different chicanes depending on how you count, and you spend far more time each lap in the corners than you do the straightaways. We started out behind the Mustang, with me first in line of 5 cars. We all had strict orders to keep the car about 3 to 5 car lengths between us and the car in front. We are also instructed to stay in line and let the Mustang driver show us the driving line. Each lap, as our group collectively showed competence, the Mustang would increase its speed, getting us closer and closer to running full speeds in these cars. Our group did have a couple of hiccups during this stint. At first it was because of me. I was running a bit too close to the Mustang at times, and after a couple of laps I was given the command by the flagman to back off. I did, and we continued on building up speed. They wanted us to get as fast as possible under the guidance of the Mustang before turning us loose on our own. At this point, I was actually very happily surprised by the pace that the Mustang was able to hold, and this let us start seeing some pretty good pace out there. I was now starting to get a feel for this car again, but this time at a much more demanding track. Towards the end of our session, the Mustang was starting to reach its limits, but for the Renault 1600, we are now starting to get into the fun zone, and just now starting to see what this thing can do. And that is about when our session came to an end, and we were pulled to a stop on the front stretch of the interior course. Then one of the instructors came out on the track, gave us all the signal to cut off our engines, and then gave us some very detailed instructions on how the next session was going to happen. This was going to be the open lapping session, no pace car in front of us, and it was going to happen right now. No catching our breath, no cooling down, no resting, right now while the memory was fresh in our brains and we can get right back down to business. Now, the first thing he mentioned was bringing it back up to speed. We weren't going to have the car in front of us showing us. In my case, it was a Mustang with brake lights saying, hey, slow down here. Hey, turn in here. Now there'd be nothing in front of me, and it was going to be up to me to judge the braking zones, the turn-in points, and all the important things that you do on the racetrack. He wanted us to build up speed, and each lap, as we built up confidence, built up our abilities to go ahead and push it a little bit harder. In a perfect world, our fastest lap would be the last one we run, and there is no chance of any of our first laps being the best one of all. That meant during the first few laps, any spins would be seen as a total failure, and we were warned to not be that guy, as they would then refer to us for not understanding that very important rule. The next thing he went into is the passing zone. There'd be one spot on the track that we could do passing, and it would only be when the lead car had been given the blue flag by the flagman on the front stretch. All passing would be done to the right-hand side, provided that that lead car got to the left, letting you know that he understood the flag. And considering the talent level of the drivers here today, it would have to be done very well, or it could be critical in open-wheeled cars. Now, during my open stint, I started off slowly, just as they had prescribed, and got a chance to feel this car on my own, and it actually did feel quite a bit different. The braking zones were totally different than one behind the Mustang. I knew that I could push this car so much more, but I now had to relearn each braking zone and even the turn-in points. My laps here today would be very limited, and there was little or no time for mistakes. I had a clear track ahead of me when I first got going. However, it was only a few laps into it that I had caught a slower car. On the backstretch, he then pulled off to the left side to an instructor who had flagged him down, and then I was back underway again. I got a good lap in, and then again caught that same car, but this time there was a bit of mayhem all over the track. You had one car pulled off to the left. You had a flag guy waving caution for another that had spun out up ahead. And then the slower car ahead of me, who thought he was being flagged down again, veered left, but then went straight through the chicane. I stayed on the driving line and made sure I was going slow into this zone. The slow car then goes around the spun out car to the left and back onto the track in front of me. Luckily, I saw him coming and continued on the driving line behind him. We were then brought to a stop on the front stretch, and once all 5 cars were back and all 5 engines were cut off, that instructor gave those 3 drivers an earful, making sure that they understood the importance and how to conduct themselves during the session. Once everything was clear and everybody understood, we were sent back out on our way again. Now, if you remember, unfortunately for me, that slower car was now the first one in line, and he was sent out on track in front of me. It meant that within a lap or so, I would be catching him again, and when I did, he got the blue flag, pulled to the left, and I went by to the right. Now it was time to get this thing up to speed and see what it could really do. I found the car to be a bit on the loose side. It had pretty good turn-in ability, but from mid-corner out, it was loose and throttle had to be applied smoothly. This car is a momentum car, and you want to keep as much corner speed as possible for the best lap times. Over-braking and downshifting too quickly was one of my biggest problems, and there were many times I got the car twitchy by doing that during turn-in and upsetting the car. Then about 6 laps into my stint going into turn 15, a right-hander with a decreasing radius corner, I did exactly that. I downshifted too fast and sent the ass of the car around. I did push the clutch in quickly and kept the car both on the track and running. And I was able to get right back underway, no harm, no foul. It did take me a lap or two to gather myself, but once again I was able to start pushing the car. I then found that as I pushed more, it would drastically change certain sections of the track. For a gain of speed made here, it meant a new approaching speed there to the next corner. An adjustment would need to be made. I made another mistake later in that session as I once again downshifted too fast and broke way too hard going into the backstretch chicane and sent it around again. Luckily, once again, I did get the clutch and brake in quick enough, kept the car on track and running. But this time, I had to wait for a car to go by before getting back underway. After gaining my composure and getting back up to speed, it was only a few laps later that our session was brought to a close with the checkered flag. We were then lined up behind the pace car and brought back into the pits. After getting a chance to collect ourselves, cool down, reflect on what we had just done, we are then taken back to the classroom for something else that is included in the ABRS experience, and that is the data logging and the review that comes after your open driving session. They have now downloaded the data from all of the cars, and now one of the instructors is going to review the data with our group. You would be able to see how your driving compared lap by lap, or to the other students, or even against a very fast lap turned by a veteran driver. You could see how your braking zones measured up against others and see the difference in the amount of force or the speed that it was applied by different drivers. In the end, you could really see where and by how much you were losing or gaining time to other drivers on the same track. For those who are running the full day or 2-day programs, this analysis would provide instant gains of time your next session out on the track. For me, it was nice to see that I wasn't that far off the pace, and for the most part, I was driving the car well. So after it was all over, I had that adrenaline-filled feeling of having done something wonderful. I mean, there's no feeling like being able to test your driving skills at a world-class facility like Autoclub Speedway. This is my home track. I've watched so many races from the stands here, and being able to be on that very track, seeing what I could do, just made it that much more special. Now, this also gave me a second chance to see the Allen Berg Racing School and their staff and how they conduct themselves during their sessions. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite racing schools that I've ever attended. I've been to 2 other racing schools, and not to take anything away from those other schools, but at Allen Berg, you're getting instruction from a real Formula One driver, and that means something. The other thing is the cars themselves. These are very good, very competent race cars that you could take and race in today's world. The other thing about it is the way they do it. It seems to me that when I go to Allen Berg, the biggest agenda on their mind is getting you in these cars and up to speed fast. They don't waste your time with a bunch of driving through cones, braking drills, and as important as that isn't what most people are paying for. We want to feel the speed, and at Allen Berg, they give it to you faster than anyone I've ever had from a racing school. Now, I think about this time of year, it's tax season, tax refund season, or maybe you just spent a bunch of money on others for Christmas presents. I cannot think of a better gift to yourself than a driving experience. And they start out at anywhere from a couple of $100s and go up into the thousands depending on how many laps and what kind of car and where you want to drive. And that's true for Allen Berg Racing School, which I recommend, or any other driving school out there near you. So in closing, needless to say, this was again one of the best experiences of my life, and I've now brought this one to a close, and I can actually check it off my bucket list. Now, there are so many more items on that bucket list. It's not like this is over in any way. I want to get on many different tracks, many different cars, and that is a big part of my bucket list. But I'll tell you, if this is something that you've ever wanted to do, you got to do it. It's a memory that will last with you for the rest of your entire life. So I once again want to thank the guys at Allen Berg Racing School. It's a great staff. Allen Berg is a great guy, and it's a pleasure to work with them at a track in the capacity of being a race car driver. It was so much fun. I also want to thank John Hill. He came with me to both sessions, and actually all of the footage that you see that isn't on board was filmed by John Hill, and I want to thank him for hanging out with me and doing all the filming. In fact, John attended Allen Berg long before I did. About 6 months before my first session there, he did the exact program at California that I had just completed, and when I close this show, I'm going to play some of that just so you can see what he did and what his thoughts were. I filmed him when he was still sitting in the car. So that is it for today. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.
You didn't even have to squeeze in at all. It's like as wide as your shoulders. You're lucky.
Wow. It's probably the shift that bothers me the most.
Dude,
it's
how much
just
F1
right
do you
there.
watch? How much F1 do you watch? A lot? Would you say you watch a lot of Formula One?
Yeah.
Did you think it was going to be roomier than this?
Well, I would have, if it just went a little wider right there, that would have been
Your feet
great.
aren't even above your shoulders like F1. You ready, John?
Yeah.
Yeah?
As ready as I'm going to be.
Are you going to make sim racers proud?
Well, this is the first session, so we're going to take it very easy. We're not going to go crazy.
Dude, you're in a race car. I don't buy any of that hogwash. It's full throttle from now on.
No, that'll
Let me be your assistant driver.
Okay, so this is the prima donna group, right? You know where all your pads are? Your combination? Okay, and I don't need it. So wait till all the pads are out of the cars and make sure you find your combination. Because I don't know what it is.
Come on over here. Drivers that just got out of the cars, come on over here with me, please.